Commander Alan West stood at the bridge of the EDS Defiant, his eyes fixed on the vast emptiness of space through the main viewing port. Stars sparkled in the distance, beautiful and serene, but Alan knew better. The galaxy was not the peaceful place humans had once imagined. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite the tension he felt. His second-in-command, Officer Lily Keller, looked up from her console. "All systems normal, Commander. We're maintaining orbit around Jupiter's moon Europa. No signs of unusual activity." Alan nodded but couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had followed him for weeks, since humanity had developed faster-than-light travel 30 years ago in 2157. Their reception by the galaxy's older civilizations had been cold at best, hostile at worst. The door to the bridge slid open, and Dr. Olivia Martinez walked in. Her usual calm expression was replaced with worry as she approached Alan. "Commander, I need to speak with you privately," she said, her voice low. Alan followed her to his small office adjacent to the bridge. As soon as the door closed, Olivia placed a data tablet on his desk. "We've decoded more of the transmissions we intercepted near the Proxima Centauri outpost," she said. "It's worse than we thought." Alan picked up the tablet and scanned the information. His stomach tightened. "Are you certain this is accurate?" "I've verified it 3 times, Olivia replied. "The 5 major species that control the Galactic Council are planning a coordinated strike against Earth. They've been watching us for decades, and they've decided we're developing too quickly." Alan leaned back in his chair, trying to process the information. The Galactic Council consisted of 5 ancient species: the Vex hierarchy, the Zorans, the Medusan Collective, the Talair Republic, and the Krith Dominion. Each had been spacefaring for thousands of years before humans had even invented the wheel. "Why now?" Alan asked. "We've been careful not to challenge their authority." Olivia pulled up another file on the tablet. "This report from one of our deep cover agents suggests they've detected unusual energy signatures from our quantum research facilities on Mars. They believe we're developing weapons." Alan shook his head. "Dr. Pierce's research isn't weapons-based, it's focused on communication and energy production." "They don't see the distinction," Olivia said. "Any technology that could shift the balance of power is a threat to them." The ship's communication system chimed. "Commander West," Lily's voice came through the speaker. "Admiral Moore is requesting an emergency video conference." "Put her through to my office," Alan replied. The wall screen flickered to life, showing the stern face of Admiral Catherine Moore. Her silver hair was pulled back in its usual tight bun, and the lines around her eyes seemed deeper than the last time Alan had seen her. "Commander West, Dr. Martinez," she acknowledged them. "I assume you've analyzed the intercepted data?" "Yes, Admiral," Alan said. "It doesn't look good." "It's worse than that," Catherine replied. "We've lost contact with our research outpost. On Titan, the last transmission indicated unusual ships entering the Saturn system." Alan felt his blood run cold. "It started already?" "Not a full-scale attack yet," Catherine said, "but these are definitely probing actions. I need you to return to Earth immediately. We're assembling a response team, and I want both of you on it." 3 days later, Alan and Olivia sat in a secure underground conference room beneath the North American Defense Headquarters in what used to be Colorado. The room contained a large oval table where 6 other people were seated. Admiral Moore stood at the head of the table. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice. As you know, we face an unprecedented threat." She gestured to a tall, thin man with kind eyes. "For those who haven't met him, this is Daniel Harris, our diplomatic attaché to the Galactic Council." Daniel nodded grimly. "For 8 years, I've tried to establish meaningful dialogue with the Council. They've consistently treated us as primitives, barely worth acknowledging. Now I understand why. They never intended to accept us as equals." "What are our options?" asked a woman at the far end of the table, General Susan Baker of Earth's Combined Military Forces. "Conventional military response would be suicide," Catherine replied. "Their technology is centuries ahead of our weapon systems." A quiet voice spoke up from the corner of the room. "Perhaps fighting isn't the answer." All heads turned toward Dr. Samuel Pierce, a slight man with disheveled gray hair and intelligent eyes. Earth's leading physicist rarely spoke in meetings, preferring to work alone in his lab. I've been studying the data from our deep space observatories, he continued. The council species are advanced, yes, but they're also predictable. They've relied on the same technologies for millennia. They've stopped innovating. And how does that help us? General Baker asked. Because humans haven't stopped, Samuel replied. My team has been working on quantum entanglement on a scale never attempted before. We can't match their military might, but we can show them something they've never seen. Admiral Moore leaned forward. Explain. For the next hour, Samuel outlined his plan. By the end, a fragile sense of hope had replaced the doom hanging over the room. It's risky, Catherine finally said, but it might be our only chance. You'll have whatever resources you need. As the meeting ended, Alan approached Daniel. In your experience, do you think they'll listen? Daniel's expression was grim. The Council doesn't respect diplomacy or compassion. Those they see as weaknesses. They respect only power and fear. If Dr. Pierce's plan can genuinely surprise them, maybe they'll pause long enough to reconsider. That night, Alan couldn't sleep. In his quarters, he pulled up a hollow image of Earth, slowly rotating. So small, so vulnerable in the vastness of space. For centuries, humans had looked to the stars with hope and wonder. No one had imagined that when they finally reached them, they would find such hostility. His communication panel chimed. It was Olivia. You can't sleep either? She asked when her image appeared. Alan shook his head. Too much at stake. I've been analyzing the data from previous civilizations that challenged the Council, she said. Alan, none of them exist anymore. 15 different species all wiped out when they began to show too much potential. Then we'll be the first to survive. Alan replied with more confidence than he felt. Olivia nodded. Admiral Moore has authorized a special mission. She wants you to take the Defiant back out, gather more intelligence on their attack plans. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning. It's dangerous, Alan. We'll be going deeper into their territory than any human ship has before. Alan looked again at the image of Earth. His home. The home of everyone he had ever known or cared about. Some risks are worth taking, he said quietly. As dawn broke over the horizon, the EDS Defiant prepared to depart Earth orbit. Alan stood on the bridge, watching the blue planet grow smaller as they accelerated away. Course set for the edge of Council space, Lily announced. Engage, Alan ordered. The stars blurred as the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. The mission had begun, and with it, perhaps humanity's last chance for survival. The EDS Defiant slipped silently through the darkness of space. They had been traveling for 5 days, staying just outside the main patrol routes of Council ships. Commander Alan West hadn't slept more than 4 hours at a time since they left Earth. Approaching the Zoran border outpost, Officer Lily Keller announced quietly, as if the enemy might hear them through the vacuum of space. Alan nodded. Engage stealth systems. The ship's lights dimmed as power redirected to the experimental cloaking technology. It wouldn't hide them completely from advanced sensors, but it might make them look like background radiation or space debris, just enough to get close. Dr. Olivia Martinez joined Alan at the main viewing screen. The outpost should have the communication logs we need, she said. If we can access their central network, we might get details about the planned attack. Getting in is one problem, Alan replied. Getting out will be another. The outpost came into view, a spidery structure of metal and lights hanging in space. Unlike human stations, which were built for both function and comfort, Council structures were coldly efficient. I'm detecting 23 life forms aboard, said Lily. Mostly Zoran, but there are 2 Vex signatures as well. Alan frowned. The presence of the Vex, the most militaristic of the Council species, complicated things. Can we tap into their communications without docking? Olivia shook her head. Their network is isolated. We need a direct connection. Alan made his decision. Prepare the stealth shuttle, Dr. Martinez and I will go in with a small team. Lieutenant Wong, you're with us." Grace Wong, the ship's communications and computer specialist, looked up from her station and nodded. Though young, she was the best at breaking through alien security systems. 30 minutes later, Alan guided the small shuttle toward a maintenance dock on the far side of the outpost. The shuttle was barely larger than a lifeboat, with just enough room for the 4-person team. "Their sensors are active but not focused in this sector," Grace reported, her eyes on her portable scanner. "We have maybe 10 minutes before the automated sweep comes back around." The shuttle connected to an emergency airlock with a soft thud. Alan winced at the sound, though he knew it wouldn't carry through space. "Remember," he told his team as they checked their weapons, "this is information gathering only. We avoid contact if possible." They moved through the abandoned maintenance corridor, Grace leading the way with her scanner. The inside of the outpost was bathed in a pale blue light that felt cold and unwelcoming. "The central data hub should be 2 levels up," Grace whispered. "There's no one between us and there." They used a service ladder to climb, emerging into a wider corridor. The walls were covered in strange symbols that shifted and moved. "Living circuit systems," Olivia explained when she saw Alan looking. "Zoran technology incorporates organic components." They reached a sealed door marked with pulsing red symbols. Grace connected her device to a port beside it. "I can bypass the security, but it will trigger a log entry," she said. "They'll know someone was here." Alan checked the time. "How long until we're discovered?" 7 minutes until the sensor sweep. Maybe 15 until someone physically checks this section." "Do it." The door slid open, revealing a room filled with what looked like glowing blue trees, their branches interconnecting in complex patterns. In the center stood a column of swirling light. "That's their data core," Grace said, already moving toward it. She pulled a small device from her pack and placed it against the column. Initiating download. Alan and Olivia took positions near the door, watching for any sign of movement. The minutes stretched painfully. 40% complete, Grace called softly. A distant sound, like metal scraping against metal, echoed down the corridor. "We have company," Olivia warned. "How much longer?" Alan asked. 3 minutes for a complete download, Grace replied, her fingers dancing over her device. "But I've got the attack plans already." "We leave now," Alan decided. Better partial information than none. They retreated the way they had come, moving as quickly as they dared. As they reached the maintenance corridor, voices echoed behind them, not human voices, but the clicking, chittering sounds of Zoran's speech. They made it to the shuttle just as alarms began to sound throughout the outpost. Alan pulled away from the dock with more speed than stealth now. "They're activating weapon systems," Lily warned from the pilot's seat. The shuttle shuddered as a targeting beam swept over them. Then the space around them lit up as the Defiant decloaked and fired precision shots at the outpost's sensor array. "Get to the main bay," came the voice of their first officer over the comm. "We're not staying for dinner." The shuttle slipped into the Defiant's landing bay moments before the larger ship jumped to faster than light speed. They had escaped, but not without being seen. Back on the bridge, Grace connected her device to the main computer. Data scrolled across the screens, most of it in the complex symbolic language of the Zorans. "The translation program is working on it," she said. "But I can already tell you the main points. They're planning a coordinated attack in 12 days. The first wave targets our outer colonies, the second our defense systems." Alan studied the tactical projections. "This is a full extermination plan. They're not looking to conquer Earth. They want to eliminate us entirely." "Like they've done before?" Olivia added grimly. "I found references to at least 6 other species they've wiped out in the last millennium." Alan opened a secure channel to Earth. Admiral Moore's face appeared on screen, lines of worry etched deeper than before. "We have the information," Alan reported. "And it's as bad as we feared. But we were detected. They know we know." Catherine's expression hardened. "Then we have no choice but to accelerate our plans. Return to Earth immediately. Dr. Pierce believes..." He's found a way to make Project Lighthouse work. The journey back to Earth was tense, every crew member aware of what was at stake. When they arrived, they found the planet on high alert, defense systems activated around every major settlement. In the underground facility beneath Colorado, Dr. Samuel Pierce hadn't left his laboratory in days. When Alan and Olivia were escorted in, they found him surrounded by holographic displays and strange equipment that hummed with energy. "Ah, Commander Doctor." Samuel greeted them, his eyes bright with excitement despite his obvious exhaustion. "You're just in time. We've had a breakthrough." He gestured to a small device on the central table. It looked unremarkable, a simple, metal cube no larger than a coffee mug. "This," Samuel said proudly, "is going to change everything." Lieutenant Grace Wong, who had joined them for the briefing, looked skeptical. "That tiny thing is going to stop a galactic invasion?" Samuel smiled. "Size isn't everything, Lieutenant. This device can manipulate quantum particles across vast distances instantaneously. What we're going to do isn't fight them, it's show them something they've never seen before." Alan looked at the small cube, trying to understand how something so small could save their world. "How exactly does it work?" Samuel's eyes gleamed. "That's what I'm going to show you. And then, we're going to show the entire galaxy." Dr. Samuel Pierce placed the small metal cube in the center of a circular platform. The room around them was filled with computers and strange equipment that hummed with energy. Admiral Catherine Moore had joined them, along with Daniel Harris, Earth's diplomatic attaché to the Galactic Council. "What we're about to show you has never been attempted before," Samuel explained. His hands moved quickly over the controls. "We've discovered that certain quantum particles exist in a state of entanglement across the entire universe. If you know how to influence them, you can create effects that can be observed anywhere." "In simple terms, please," Admiral Moore requested. Samuel smiled. "We can send a message that appears simultaneously everywhere in the galaxy. No travel time, no signal to intercept. It just appears." Lieutenant Grace Wong leaned forward with interest. "Like quantum teleportation?" "Similar, but on a much larger scale. We're not moving matter. We're changing the state of particles that already exist everywhere," Samuel replied. "But to make it work, we need your help, Lieutenant. Your expertise in communication systems is essential." Grace nodded, clearly excited by the challenge. "How powerful is this message?" Commander Alan West asked. "Will it just be words or something more?" "That's where it gets interesting," Samuel said. "Watch this demonstration." He activated the cube. It glowed with a soft blue light. In the air above it, tiny points of light appeared, forming a three-dimensional map of the solar system. "This is just a small-scale test," Samuel explained. "But observe what happens when I increase the power." The cube pulsed. Suddenly, the light points intensified. Then, for a brief moment, the colors in the room shifted. Everyone felt a slight, tingling sensation on their skin. "What just happened?" asked Olivia Martinez, blinking in surprise. "I temporarily altered the quantum state of particles in this room," Samuel explained. "On a larger scale, we can create effects that will be visible to every advanced sensor system in the galaxy." Admiral Moore's expression was serious. "And you're sure this isn't a weapon? We don't want to start a war we can't win." "It's not a direct weapon," Samuel confirmed. "It's a demonstration of capability. Think of it as showing a locked door to someone planning to break into your house." Daniel Harris, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. "Having dealt with the Council species for years, I can tell you they respect power above all else. If we can show them something they don't understand and can't counter, they might reconsider their plans." Admiral Moore nodded slowly. "How soon can we implement this on a larger scale?" "We've already been setting up quantum beacons throughout the solar system," Samuel replied. "With Lieutenant Wong's help, we can be ready in 3 days." "The attack is scheduled to begin in 9 days," Alan reminded them. "That doesn't leave much room for error." "Then let's get to work," Catherine said firmly. Over the next 3 days, the team worked tirelessly. Grace and Samuel spent hours fine-tuning the quantum network, while Alan, Olivia, and Daniel crafted the message that would be sent to the Council species. On the evening of the third day, they gathered in the command center beneath Colorado. Screens showed the positions of Earth's defense fleet and the network of quantum beacons now positioned throughout the solar system. All systems are ready, Grace announced. Her fingers moved confidently over the control panel. Quantum network is stable. Samuel double-checked the readings. Energy levels optimal. We can proceed when you give the word, Admiral. Catherine looked at each person in the room, her eyes reflecting the gravity of the moment. This is our one chance to deter an attack that could end human civilization. If it fails... She didn't need to finish the sentence. It will work, Samuel assured her. Catherine nodded. Proceed. Grace and Samuel synchronized their controls. The main lights dimmed as power flowed into the quantum network. On the screens, the beacons activated one by one, glowing points of light spreading outward from Earth. Network fully active, Grace reported. Beginning transmission in 3, 2, 1. She pressed a final control. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the screen's monitoring space around Earth lit up with unusual readings. It's working, Samuel whispered, watching the data flow across his screen. The quantum particles are responding. Across the galaxy, on every world with advanced technology, sensors suddenly registered an impossible event. The quantum state of specific particles changed simultaneously, creating patterns that couldn't be natural. And within those patterns was embedded a simple message, translated into the mathematical language used by all spacefaring civilizations. We know of your plans. What follows will be observed by all. In the command center, they watched as their sensors detected sudden increases in communication traffic throughout Council space. They've noticed, Daniel said, checking the diplomatic channels. All 5 Council species have gone to high alert status. Now we wait, Catherine said. Either they reconsider their attack or... She was interrupted by an urgent signal. An officer at the communication station looked up with concern. Admiral, we're receiving a message. It's from the Narration Collective. They're requesting a private channel. Daniel looked surprised. The Niraxians? They've never taken sides in Council affairs before. Put them through, Catherine ordered. A screen activated, showing a being with iridescent scales and large, multifaceted eyes. It spoke in a melodic voice that the translation system rendered in English. I am Elder Kier of the Niraxian Collective. Your demonstration has been observed with great interest. We request immediate dialogue. Catherine glanced at Daniel, who nodded slightly. This is Admiral Catherine Moore of Earth. We are willing to talk. Not over this channel, Elder Kier replied. The Council monitors all standard communications. We request a meeting using your new quantum method. Samuel looked uncertain. We haven't tested it for two-way communication yet. Can we do it? Catherine asked. Theoretically, yes, Grace answered. The principles are the same. Very well, Catherine told the Niraxian. We will establish contact through our quantum network in 2 hours. After the transmission ended, Daniel turned to the others. This is significant. The Niraxians have maintained neutrality for thousands of years. For them to reach out now, could it be a trap? Alan asked. Possible, but unlikely, Daniel replied. The Niraxians have a reputation for honesty, if not warmth. They don't take sides without good reason. 2 hours later, they had modified the quantum network to allow for secure two-way communication. Elder Kier's image appeared again, clearer than before. We have watched your species since you first reached beyond your planet, the Elder began, without preamble. Few races develop as quickly as humans. The last to do so were the Solarians. They no longer exist. Are you warning us? Catherine asked directly. We are offering perspective, Elder Kier replied. The Niraxian Collective once faced extinction at the hands of the Council, as you do now. We found a different path. We made ourselves necessary to the galactic community. But your approach... The Elder's multifaceted eyes gleamed. Your demonstration shows you have discovered something new. Something the Council has never seen. Catherine exchanged glances with her team. And does that interest the Naraxians? It interests anyone who has lived under the Council's shadow for millennia, Elder Keir answered. We have information that may help you survive the coming days. Are you willing to listen? Admiral Catherine Moore leaned forward in her chair. We're listening, Elder Keir. The Naraxians' multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer. The 5 Council species are not as united as they appear. They maintain a careful balance of power, each one watching the others. This has been their way for thousands of years. Daniel Harris nodded slowly. I've sensed tensions during diplomatic meetings, but they always present a unified front to outsiders. A necessary illusion, Elder Keir said. The Vex hierarchy and the Zorans have been rivals since before humans walked upright. The Medusan collective trusts no one. The Talair Republic and Krith Dominion formed an alliance of convenience centuries ago, but it is fragile. How does this help us? Alan West asked. Divided enemies are vulnerable, the Naraxian replied. We can provide details of these divisions, information we have gathered over millennia. Used correctly, it could prevent the attack, Catherine considered this. Why would you help us? The Council's dominance has lasted too long, Elder Keir said simply. Change is necessary for the galaxy to progress. Your quantum technology is intriguing. It suggests humans might be the catalyst for such change. After the communication ended, the Earth team gathered to discuss their next steps. Can we trust the Naraxians? Olivia Martinez asked. We don't have much choice, Catherine replied. But we'll verify their information before acting on it. Commander Alan West and Dr. Olivia Martinez spent the next day analyzing the data provided by the Naraxians, cross-referencing it with information they had gathered during their mission. The Naraxian information matches what we found, Olivia confirmed, looking up from her screen. There are significant tensions among the Council species. Alan studied the tactical display, where the positions of known Council ships were marked. Look at this, he said, pointing to a section of space near Alpha Centauri. The Vex fleet is positioned to strike Earth directly, but they've placed themselves between Earth and the Zoran forces. As if they're concerned about the Zorans reaching us first, Olivia realized. Alan nodded. They're competing to be the ones to eliminate us. Admiral Moore called another meeting of the response team. Dr. Samuel Pierce and Lieutenant Grace Wong had made further refinements to the quantum network. We've, increased the stability and range, Grace reported. We can now target specific locations with precision. And we've discovered something else, Samuel added, his eyes bright with excitement. The quantum beacons we've deployed can be used not just for communication, but for observation. We can see Council activities in real time. Daniel Harris looked thoughtful. So we can gather evidence of their plans. Exactly, Samuel confirmed. And that gives me an idea. Over the next 2 days, they implemented what they called Operation Mirror. Using the quantum network, they observed private communications between the Council species. They discovered plans, secrets, and betrayals, each species working not just against Earth but against each other. On the 6th day, with the attack only 3 days away, they launched the second phase of their plan. Targeting the Vex High Command, Grace announced as she operated the quantum communication system. Message ready for transmission, Daniel confirmed. Catherine gave the order. Send it. Through the quantum network, they sent a private message to the Vex hierarchy, revealing evidence that their supposed allies, the Zorans, had been secretly sabotaging Vex ships and planned to claim credit for eliminating Earth. Similar messages went to each Council species, each one containing carefully selected truths that would sow distrust and confusion. Transmission to the Krith Dominion complete, Grace reported as the final message was sent. All 5 species have received their packages. Now we accelerate the process, Catherine said firmly. She turned to Samuel. Activate all remaining quantum beacons. Samuel and Grace worked together, their fingers dancing across control panels. Across the galaxy, hundreds of small devices placed by seemingly innocent human exploration missions over the years suddenly activated. Beacons online, Grace confirmed. Beginning broadcast. Through these beacons, they transmitted evidence of the Council's war plans to every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy. Not just the plans to attack Earth, but evidence of previous extinctions, the systematic elimination of competitor species over thousands of years. The response was immediate. Communication channels erupted with activity as species who had long existed under Council dominance reacted to the revelations. In the command center, they monitored the chaos spreading through Council space. The Vex fleet has changed course, Alan reported, watching the tactical display. They're moving away from their rendezvous points with the other Council forces. The Medusan Diplomatic Corps has issued a statement denying involvement in the planned attack, Daniel added, reading from his screen. Olivia pointed to another section of data. The Talair Republic has recalled its ambassadors from all Council worlds. Catherine allowed herself a small smile. The unified front is cracking. But the victory was short-lived. Lieutenant Grace Wong suddenly looked up from her station, her expression alarmed. Admiral, I'm detecting a large energy signature at the edge of our solar system. A Vex battle fleet has just emerged from hyperspace near Neptune. Alan moved to her side, checking the readings. Confirmed. At least 20 capital ships and numerous smaller vessels. They're on an attack vector toward Earth. Why would they attack now? Daniel asked. Their alliance is falling apart. Precisely why, Catherine realized. The Vex are acting alone, trying to eliminate us before the other Council species can interfere. They want to claim the victory, and our technology, for themselves alone. Samuel Pierce checked his own readings and his face paled. Based on their approach vector and speed, they'll reach Earth in less than 6 hours. Can our defense fleet stop them? Olivia asked. Alan shook his head grimly. Not against a force that size. Even with our most advanced weapons, we're outmatched. The room fell silent as the reality of their situation sank in. Their clever plan had disrupted the coordinated attack, but had inadvertently triggered a more immediate threat. Catherine Moore took a deep breath, her mind racing through options. Then she turned to Samuel Pierce. Doctor, you said your quantum technology isn't a weapon, but is there any way we can use it defensively to deter this attack? Samuel thought for a moment, then exchanged a glance with Grace. Slowly, a look of realization dawned on his face. There might be one option, he said quietly, but it's untested and potentially dangerous. More dangerous than extinction? Catherine asked. Samuel shook his head. No, Admiral. Nothing is more dangerous than that. Then tell me, Samuel gestured, to the quantum cube that started it all. We've been using this technology for communication and observation, but its true potential is much greater. In theory, we could temporarily alter the fundamental constants of physics itself, within precisely defined boundaries. Alan stared at him. Alter the laws of physics? Is that even possible? We've done it on a microscopic scale in the lab, Samuel replied. Never in open space, never at the range we'd need. Catherine looked at the tactical display, where the approaching Vex fleet was represented by a cluster of red dots moving steadily toward the blue sphere of Earth. How long would you need to prepare? She asked. Samuel glanced at Grace, who quickly calculated in her head. If we redirect all power from the defense grid, she said, and use the entire quantum network, 3 hours, maybe 4. Catherine nodded decisively. Do it. This is now our primary option. As the others rushed to implement the plan, Catherine moved to the communication station and opened a channel to the approaching fleet. This is Admiral Catherine Moore of Earth to the Vex hierarchy vessels. Be advised that any hostile action against our planet will be met with consequences beyond your understanding. This is your only warning. There was no response from the Vex fleet. They continued their advance, weapons charging. Earth's final defense was about to be tested. Time was running out. The Vex fleet continued its advance toward Earth, now just 3 hours away. In the underground command center, Dr. Samuel Pierce and Lieutenant Grace Wong worked frantically to prepare their last hope defense system. Quantum network at 87% capacity, Grace reported, her fingers flying across the control panel. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool air. Samuel nodded without looking up from his calculations. We'll need at least 95% to create an effect large enough for the Vex to observe. Nearby, Commander Alan West and Dr. Olivia Martinez monitored the approaching fleet. They've increased speed, Alan said grimly. New estimated arrival 2 hours, 40 minutes. Admiral Catherine Moore paced the room, her face calm despite the pressure. Any response to our warning? None, Daniel Harris replied from the communications station. The Vex never were ones for conversation. Catherine stopped pacing and faced the team. Dr. Pierce, explain exactly what will happen when your system activates. Samuel looked up from his work. We'll create a controlled demonstration in uninhabited space directly in the path of the Vex fleet. Within that precisely defined area, we'll temporarily alter certain fundamental constants of physics. In simple terms, Catherine pressed, stars will briefly change color, light will slow down or speed up, gravity will ripple in patterns that are mathematically impossible. Samuel's eyes gleamed with scientific excitement despite the dire situation. It won't harm their ships, but it will show them we can change the basic rules that govern reality itself. And if they continue their attack after seeing this? Alan asked. Samuel's expression grew serious. Then we target the space around their ships, not to destroy them. We can't control it that precisely yet. But to disrupt their systems, perhaps disable their weapons. It's a big gamble, Olivia observed. Every new discovery is, Samuel replied quietly. The next 2 hours passed in tense preparation. The quantum network slowly charged to capacity as the team finalized their targeting coordinates. Network at 94%, Grace announced. 95, 96. We have sufficient power. Samuel joined her at the main control station. Targeting coordinates locked. The demonstration zone is clear of all known ships except the approaching Vex fleet. Catherine moved to stand beside them. How will this appear to other observers? Across the galaxy? The quantum network will broadcast what happens in real time, Samuel explained. Every species with advanced sensors will witness this demonstration. Catherine nodded, understanding the full implications. This wasn't just about stopping the Vex attack. It was about changing humanity's place in the galactic order forever. Vex. Fleet now 30 minutes from optimal demonstration range, Alan reported. Begin final preparations, Catherine ordered. Samuel and Grace synchronized their systems. The lights dimmed throughout the facility as power flowed into the quantum network. All quantum beacons active and synchronized, Grace confirmed. Control system stable, Samuel added. Ready to initiate on your command, Admiral. Catherine took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. Everything humanity had built, every person on Earth and the colonies, depended on what happened next. Initiate the demonstration, she said firmly. Grace pressed the activation sequence. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the main view screen lit up with extraordinary images. In a carefully selected region of space ahead of the Vex fleet, stars began to change. Their usual white, yellow, and red hues shifted to impossible colors. Blues that seemed deeper than the universe should allow, purples that hurt the eye to look at directly. Then the light itself began to behave differently. Starlight bent in geometric patterns, forming shapes that shouldn't be possible under normal physics. Gravity waves rippled visibly through space, creating patterns like mathematical equations written across the cosmos. In the command center, everyone watched in awed silence. It's working, Samuel whispered. The constants are responding to our adjustments. On the tactical display, the Vex fleet suddenly halted its advance. They've stopped, Alan confirmed. All ships holding position just outside the demonstration zone. They're scanning it, Olivia added, reading from her sensor data. Massive energy readings as they analyze what they're seeing. Minutes passed as the demonstration continued. Samuel carefully adjusted parameters, showing more of what humans could now achieve. Temporary accelerations of time in small regions, momentary changes in the strength of electromagnetic forces. Finally, the communication system activated. A harsh mechanical voice spoke in translated English. Earth vessels. Explain the phenomenon we are observing. Catherine nodded to Daniel, who opened a channel. This is Earth's diplomatic attaché, Daniel Harris. You are witnessing a controlled demonstration of quantum state manipulation technology. There was a pause before the Vex responded. This technology is unknown to the Council archives. Yes, Daniel replied simply. It is unique to Earth. Another pause, longer this time. Your demonstration is concerning. The Vex hierarchy requests immediate consultation. Catherine stepped forward. This is Admiral Catherine Moore of Earth. Before any consultation, you will withdraw your fleet from Earth space immediately. The Vex commander did not respond for nearly a minute. When the voice returned, it had a different tone, still mechanical but with a hint of something that might have been respect, or perhaps fear. We will withdraw to a distance of 1 light day to await diplomatic exchange. The Vex hierarchy acknowledges Earth's technological achievement. On the tactical display, the red dots representing the Vex ships began moving away from Earth. They're really leaving, Alan said, disbelief in his voice. For now, Catherine cautioned. This isn't over yet. As the hours passed, reports came in from throughout the galaxy. The other Council species had observed the demonstration through the quantum network. One by one, they opened diplomatic channels to Earth, not as superiors addressing an upstart, but as equals seeking dialogue. 3 days later, Daniel Harris led a diplomatic mission to neutral space. For the first time in recorded history, the 5 Council species met with a newcomer civilization as an equal. In the meeting that followed, Earth presented its terms: recognition of full autonomy, guaranteed safety for all human colonies, and a place in determining galactic policy going forward. The Council representatives, faced with humanity's demonstrated capabilities, had little choice but to agree. Back on Earth, Admiral Moore stood with Alan, Olivia, Samuel, and Grace at an observation deck looking up at the stars. Did we just change the course of galactic history? Grace asked quietly. Samuel smiled. We did something better. We showed that humans don't need to conquer or destroy to earn respect. We just needed to understand the universe a little better than anyone else. Admiral Moore nodded. Our greatest weapon wasn't a weapon at all. It was knowledge. Alan's communication device beeped. He checked it and looked up with surprise. The Naraxians are requesting a scientific exchange program. They want to learn about our quantum research. And the Talair Republic is offering access to their medical technology, Olivia added, checking her own device. Catherine looked out at the stars again. They seemed different now. Not distant points of light, but places where humanity would soon walk as equals, not subjects. This is just the beginning, she said softly. Not of domination or conflict, but of something new. Something better. As Earth's first true night of peace in the galactic community fell, a message traveled through the quantum network. Not a threat or a demonstration this time, but an invitation. An invitation to build a future where understanding, not force, determined the course of civilization, and across the stars, one by one, the answers came back: yes,